Oh yeah. Let's look at that. Oh yeah. That is a delicious looking pie.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Mostly Pizza. My name is Ivan and today we're making a Detroit style pizza. We're going to kick things off with making the dough and all the preparation there, and then we'll dive right into preparing the pizza. Thankfully it uses the same type of dough, which I was pretty surprised about, as my New York style pizza recipe. Tony's book says to use the same dough, so I'm going to go with that. Looking it up online, there didn't seem anything special about the dough either. I was thinking it might have like a cornmeal or some other type of flour that was in the dough, but nope, it's just the standard high gluten flour. I'll be using All Trump's high gluten flour as I do for most of my recipes. When I get into the Chicago style, which I'll be making next week, that will have different types of flour with some extra goodies in it as well. But for today, the Detroit style pizza has your typical master dough, as Tony calls it, and we'll be making just enough to be able to make the Detroit style pizza in one of the Detroit style pans. All right, now we're back 24 hours later. We have our dough that's rested for about 24 hours in the refrigerator to grow. You can see that it's grown quite a bit since you last saw it. And I've let this sit at room temperature for about an hour and a half to bring up the temperature. You need it to be between like 55 and 60 degrees. We've also got almost 3 tablespoons of butter here, room temperature. I got some on deck just in case. But that's the big difference here between this pizza and others, is we're using butter for the tray. We're not using olive oil this time around. So I'm going to set this stuff aside real quick and then get this all buttered up so that way we can get going on the dough. All right, so what you want to do is you want to grab your butter and you're going to just generously season the pan all around. Similar to olive oil, since this is going to be cooking into the dough so much because it's literally the main contact with the heat, get some good butter. This is unsalted butter. This is Kerrygold. All right. I would say this is pretty generously seasoned. Nice and prepared. We're going to plop it right into the pan. Plop. Just like that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to make sure this is nice and covered with all that wonderful butter. I've actually brought a little bit of extra over here just in case. I'm going to just rub that in a little bit. Make sure both sides are nicely coated. Similar to the grandma style, you want to form it to the pan as much as possible. We want it as flat as possible and as even as possible, so that way it rises evenly. That looks pretty good. Fills it in very nicely. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to let it sit for about half an hour to give it a chance to proof a little bit more. The whole purpose of this dough is to be light and fluffy, and so you want it to grow as much as you can. Keep it in a warm place so that way it gets extra opportunity to grow. And we'll be back. Now that we're waiting for the dough to rise, I'm going to go through the ingredients real quick. We've got our calabrese salami here, which I'm pretty excited to try. We've got 8 ounces of white cheddar, a little bit different for pizza. We've got about 16 ounces of medium cheddar. Typically you use a brick cheese. However, I couldn't find any brick cheese, and looking up online shows that you can use a medium cheddar instead of brick cheese. I'm only going to use about 8 ounces of this, but the extra leftover is going to be for either grilled cheese later on or a little bit of extra on the crust, so that way you can get that nice crispy edge that is a signature piece of the Detroit style pizza. And then of course you have a nice sauce. The difference this time around is you want your sauce to be warm. So I've gone ahead and warmed this up This is a sauce I made the other day for the grandma style pizza. Still very good, one of my favorite sauces. And so we're going to be using this for the Detroit style, but it'll be warm going onto the pizza this time. So we've gone ahead and let the dough rest for about 30 minutes or so. It's risen a little bit, but not too much, but I think we're okay, in a good place. The first step for this dough is going to be, we're going to cook it in the oven at 500 degrees. Again, this oven has been preheating for about an hour because you want it as hot as possible. We're going to let it cook for about 6 minutes all by itself. We're going to start off with a par bake, and that's going to cook it all by itself a little bit. It's not going to be fully cooked, so don't worry, but that'll be the first step. After of which, we'll then add our cheese, we'll add our pepperoni and our sauce, and combine it all together. So we have our first 6 minutes done. You can see that it's got a little bit of color there, but it's not fully cooked. It didn't go quite all the way to the edges, but that's okay. But the butter in there is nice and sizzling hot. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to put on our cheese. So we've got about 8 ounces of our mild cheddar. All right, now that's what I call a pretty cheesy pie there. So we're gonna let this cook for another 7 or so minutes like this. This will get the cheese nice and melted up top, give it a little bit of color. Hopefully we'll get some nice crispification along the sides to make some really great crispy edges. This is my first time doing this, so we'll see how it goes. It's looking pretty good right now, so we're gonna actually add our sauce right now. We're gonna just do right across the top, similar to how we did the grandma style, but I'm gonna put a little bit extra. They call this a red top pizza for a reason. And then we're gonna add some pepperonis, and there's no rhyme or reason to how we want to do this. We're just going to throw them right on. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of cheese right on top. And we're going to throw this back in the oven for another 5-6 minutes until it looks like it's good to go. All right, let's see what it looks like. Oh my goodness. That is a soupy, crazy mess, but it looks freaking amazing.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh yeah. That is a delicious looking pie.
All right, now comes the fun part of trying to get the pizza out of the pan. So let's see how we did. This is why I use a fish spatula, because it has a nice sharp edge to drive right down into the edge. Off she goes. Oh, it's heavy. But she looks good. All right, let's cut this open. We're gonna do nice big slices. Oh yeah. We're going to do that and just once across. So these are going to be nice big pieces. All right, that looks good. Excited to dig in. That's really good. You can kind of see the dough made a really nice, some really nice bubbles in there. Got a nice crispy crust on the outside. Toppings cooked perfectly. We got the nice cheese crust on the outside above the rest of the dough. You can kind of see there the difference between the dough and then the cheese. Yeah, this is great. Looking forward to trying it. So I'll be honest, in hindsight, the pizza could have been cooked longer. I think the biggest issue I ran into, which prevented it from being light and fluffy, is I didn't really let it proof long enough before getting started. Next time I'll give it an hour or more once it's formed in the pan to give it a nice rise before baking. All that to say, while editing the video, it made me want to make another one and eat it again. It was so good. As always, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, if you want to see more videos of me making pizzas or do any kind of different types of pizzas, let me know in the comment section below. Until then, see you next time.